tougher day than me. That takes my mind off my rough day, and it always leads to something good. And I'm going to tell you, at the end of every rainbow is a transaction, not a pot of gold. I'm serious. It's crazy the number of people I talk to during a day, and all of a sudden transactions. There was a good example, Marilee Roberge. She sat in a class that I did in Arizona one year. Nothing to do with me, the class, anything. She pulls me aside after the class. There was a little happy hour. She says, "We need to stay connected." And I said, "Why is that?" She goes, "Because I think I can learn a lot from you." Right? Now, does that sound one-sided? Kind of, right? Right? So we stayed connected. And I'm on Marco Polo, so I'd Marco Polo her once in a while. I go, "Hey, I'm not coming to Arizona like I thought I was going to be speaking here. You can pick it up on social media." And then over time she'd call me and say, "Could you call me, just kind of talk me off the ledge? I'm feeling like I want to kill everybody and get out of real estate." And I'm like, "Okay." So, and then here I am 3 years into that friendship. She calls me and says, "I got some business in Southern California. I'm going to take care of it even though I'm not licensed, but I'm going to do it through you, and I'll pay you a 30% referral fee. You just do the paperwork, I'll take care of everything else." I go, "Okay." I had no idea how much the price was. It was like, my 30% is going to be 18 grand. My 30%.
Nice.
Right? And now she's got 4 more of them lined up. And I never asked. All I did is helped her years ago, and now it's paying dividends. So, lesson. Put yourself in the way of opportunity. Open houses, talking to people, being kind. All of those things will pay big dividends over the years. I promise you. It may not show up now, and you never know where it will. Because if you're looking for it, it's not going to come. You've got to just relax. Keep being the you that you know you're capable of being, and it'll fall into your lap. All right? Good. So today I promise you I'm going to talk about buyer consultation. There's 2 things that I used to travel the country and speak a lot for. Between 2008 and 2011 for Keller Williams, I was traveling the country and speaking a lot on 2 things. And one was buyer urgency, and the other was buyer consultation. Okay, so we're going to talk about both of those. I want to finish early because I have a lot of people I want to talk to, and I'll be on a red eye at 11 p.m. tonight. So, buyer consultation and buyer urgency. What was the issue with buyer urgency? We're going to talk about that first. Buyer urgency, the problem was between 2007 and in some areas around the country and Canada, it was 2006 that all the crap started to happen, the downfall. Who was in the market at the time? Raise your hand if you were in the market. Just me, Denise, Sherry. Oh, okay, Patricia. Hector, you were in the financial end, weren't you? Yeah. Marissa, you were in it. Yeah. So when I was in Australia and I went to visit a commercial broker just to hear how they do commercial real estate in Australia, he said, "Well, what did you call that period of time?" And I said, "Oh, we call it the Big Short." We call it the GFC, and he goes, "Most of the world calls it the GFC." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Global financial crisis." That's what they called that period between 2007 and 2011. So what was happening is there was so much inventory, foreclosures and REOs, and then other people that weren't foreclosures and REOs were putting the homes on the market, competing with foreclosures and REOs, and they'd sit on the market. So what did the buyer get to do? The buyer got to spend, "Oh, my price range is this," and you'd go, "Oh, there's 138 homes for sale in your price range." You know, and you'd be like, "How?" Now if you try somebody showing their price range, Cindy, there's 2 in their price range, right? I mean, look at your guy just got accepted. She just had a guy got rejected 3 times, finally got accepted on his 4th offer and had 14 offers that he competed with. It's a completely different market. Most of you have not experienced an offer like a market like that, where the buyer could literally look at homes all day, every day for 20 or 30 days in a row and not see everything in their price range. So the buyer consultation became so important to narrow down what it was that they wanted. But also what became important is creating something called buyer urgency, so that you knew if this was the buyer you should be spending your time with, is that going to get you the sooner paycheck? Because I'm going to tell you, paychecks were rare in that time period. If I didn't have speaking or coaching back then, I would have literally gone bankrupt, and I almost did anyway. But that's what happened. You had to get people moved and motivated enough to buy immediately rather than waiting. And you'd have to come up with all this stuff like, we didn't know when the market was going to turn around, right? But everybody thought, well, they're still dropping, I'll wait. How do you argue against that? I don't know, I'd kind of wait myself if I were you, you know. But you never know where the bottom is, because
So it
you
starts
only,
to rise.
yes, they always say you only know when the bottom is when you're long past it. hey, that was the bottom. In 2010, we swore, in the middle of 2010, we swore we hit the bottom. And well, looking back, the bottom was the third quarter of 2009, right? But if you bought anywhere from the third quarter of 2009 to the end of 2010, you were essentially at the bottom because it didn't start coming up. But if you look at the difference between prices at January 2011 in Fremont to January 2012, that difference there was something like 18% growth in appreciation just in that 1 year. So the story, like you will not survive in this business if you cannot speak enthusiastically and knowledgeably about numbers and statistics. Not so much in the past, like way long time ago, but certainly enough so that whatever client you're talking about can relate to what's going on now. Sonia?
Do you see the coronavirus coming into play in our interaction?
So that's a really good question. I'm not a stock guy, and somebody told me, I was FaceTiming my brother David yesterday on his iPhone, and then his work phone rang, and it was his wife, and he goes, hang on, it's Evelyn, and he talks to her, and I go, what's up? And he goes, well, that was my stockbroker. I said, I thought you said it was your wife. And he goes, well, she is my stockbroker too. And he goes, remember the market crashed over 1,000 points the other day? I go, remember? And he goes, oh, that's right. Excuse my language, because he says this to me all the time. He said, that's right. Your head is up your ass unless it's about real estate or new skin, which is my wife's business, right? And I'm like, I didn't know the stock market dropped $1,000. He goes, it dropped more, and she's starting to see some up, so she'll buy stocks, right? That's not my department. And everybody said that drop was because of the coronavirus. When we were in Australia, Sonia, they were telling us that Australia as a country, because it's only a 9-hour flight from China, was losing $500 million a month in revenue because of the drop in Chinese visitors to Australia. So I think it's going to affect some things. I just don't really see it affecting the real estate market.
Actually, it's already touched the real estate market because I follow it like.
Really?
Not necessarily Corona alone, but I follow the news a lot. And it's definitely touched a couple of different areas. I know for sure they're talking. I know NAR issued a statement saying something about they were concerned about the luxury real estate market, and then Realtor.com just put something out.
Because of the number of Chinese buyers in the luxury market?
What I've
market, and then it was something else.
Well, I put in.
Remember, but I know it's definitely touching real estate.
I saw an article from CBS, and I posted it to my Facebook that another reason mortgage rates have receded. European and other overseas investors seeking shelter from bad news, like the spreading coronavirus, have scooped up U.S. Treasuries, pushing down the bond yield. So therefore, they kind of move into mortgage bonds.
I'm sure that was English, even though I didn't understand it.
So yeah, so they're investing.
But that actually, so when the
affects-
bond yields go down, interest rates go down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they just lowered the rates again.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, and he's in the lending industry, so yeah.
3.25 now, right? Something like
It's
that.
even less. Like I just had a lender.
That's that's not mortgages. That's not credit cards, car
Yeah,
loans.
it doesn't affect the mortgage yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
called Anna and she's like, it
Oh,
won't
okay.
affect yours.
I guess my point is
Yeah.
the conversation is going to come up. So we have like objections? You know what I mean?
Well,
well,
I think, of course, everything's going to be of concerns. We have clients who also have businesses that do import and export, and then they're affected by their income from the, what's stopping the industrial over in China because they're not importing and travel and stuff. So yes, it will have an impact. Do you think it's going to go away or, work its way out? It's going to be the same, just like back then when they had SAR. I don't know if you remember SAR,
yeah.
right?
About
So it's very
swine flu?
yeah, it's
Every
very
4
much
years.
similar, and and I think some people, everybody's extreme. Like some moms are super hyper about it, like they don't let the kids. They're like thinking about quarantining their kids from school, and I'm thinking like. It just really just depends. And I do follow the real estate trends, and some people are affected by it because people don't go to open houses, people aren't making any, purchase, but to me, I think those are the people who are not maybe serious buyer and taking the opportunity, because we just had a great open house, and how many, like, you guys had like over 50 groups that came through in the
Were
1.6
you busy?
Oh yeah.
in the 1.6 million. So that's luxury. So I think it's all again on perspective, right? It's how you look at it. And I mean, there are people in 2012 that's kicking their butt in 2015 for not buying in 2012, and it was like prime time to buy. And you can't always predict. You just have to like just continue doing what you do, and don't let
I just think
outside.
it's important because I know I actually do have a client that, you know, I mean, he knows more than me, to be honest. But I don't know. I think he kind of like picks my brain a lot. But anyway, he stays on top of it big time, and he's constantly like throwing stuff out there to see how much I know. You know what I mean?
I mean, you can know, but you just have to be confident in what you do. And like Rick said, you just have to be really excited about your business, your industry, and know that that is where you have to project your voice.
Yeah.
And if you just live in all this fear of all the exterior, then you're never going to be able to grow. You're not going to take that risk.
Right.
So,
Well, and it's really, you both make a really good point, and Sonia, it's the bigger thing is just, I'm not bringing it up to the clients. If the client brings it up to me, then we can talk about it. My wife showed me a cartoon that's, I know it's probably not something to laugh at, but it was just basically a couple saying a picture of how much we enjoyed our vacation, and they had tans, but it was all white where their mask was, where you can tell they had a mask on. Was that a real picture?
Yeah, it was a real picture.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a drawing or something. But anyway, but yeah, it's sensitive. I think someone even used the term discriminatory. I said I don't believe anybody would mean to be discriminatory, other than, you know, if you were around it, nobody wants to be around you. You know.
People are overreacting. As
Yeah.
she said, they're being
so.
hypersensitive, but they're also being hypersensitive to certain groups about it, which
Yeah.
is where that comes in.
Yeah. And I think I know I was thinking that because of what happened while we were on our trip to Australia. My son's a journalist. I called before I went. I said, "What do you know about this? Your paper's probably doing research." And he said, "Don't get a mask." He said, "They worsen rather than help. Just do what you always do. You're not going to cancel the flight." He said, "Are you canceling the flight?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, then just be your normal self. Go do." You know, we went, we came. Tonight we're flying to Cancun. They're always asking every time you check in now, have you been in China in the last 45 days? You know, so. And the number of days keeps going. I remember when we first got asked when we landed in Australia, they said, "Have you been in China the last 6 days?" Right? And then when we were coming home from Australia, they said, "Have you been in China the last 14 days?" And then when I went to Toronto, after coming back from Australia, they're like, "Have you been in China the last 30 days?" Right? So we'll see what they ask me tonight. So anyway, I think we're good right now. The market is still hot. Inventory is still low. I was talking, you guys all know, if you don't know Ralph, you'll meet him next week. If you can come and listen to Ralph talk about, is it next week? Are we set? He's talking about KV Core at a deep level. Ralph is 37 years old, techie, been in real estate 17 years already. Knows KV Core really well because he did the research and figured it out himself, and he's going to talk a lot about the tools. But I talked to him today, and he was talking about how his Fremont listing sold for full price without multiple offers. Then it fell apart. It sold again the same day it fell apart for full price again, and then it fell apart again because they decided the kitchen was too small. And in the meantime, the exact same floor plan came on for $100,000 less with an offer date. Right? His was just, that was $775. His was $875 with no offer date. And so now he wants to wait and see, but he says he's got one in Hayward where there's going to be like 8, 10, 12 offers. He goes, "What's going on in Hayward?" I go, "Dude, 50 houses on the market, 80 pending. It's a really tough market." One of the things I want you guys to keep in mind is always when you really want to measure the health of a market for a quick, what I call look at the market when you have nothing else to go on, is always look at your active to pending ratio, right? And if it is smaller than 1 to 1, right? Smaller than that, which would mean the pending number is bigger, then you're generally in a relatively good that does it. Yeah. Okay. It's generally, so like in Hayward right now, approximately 50, approximately 80 homes pending. So this is smaller than a 1. The ratio is smaller than 1. When the ratio is smaller than 1, you're generally in a seller's market or leaning towards it. If it's really close to 1, like maybe it's 50 to 60, you can't count on it as much. But when it starts separating like that, when it's double, like when it's a half, 1/2, wow, you're pretty sure you're in a very strong market. But there's several things to look at, and this will help you when you're talking to buyers, so I'm going to cover it now. There's 3 things to look at your active to pending ratio in, 3 different ways. 1, in the city. 2, in the area in the city, meaning maybe the neighborhood, right, or that general area. And number 3 is the price range. Okay, so if you look at a city like Fremont or like Concord, Concord's a really good example, because Concord you can have a $190,000 property and you can have a $4 million property. Correct? Am I saying anything that's not true?
4 million in Concord?
I think there's 1.
Where did you see that?
There's not 1? What's the highest?
Maybe 2 million.
2? Okay. So,
I was like, I was there, like, woo!
right,
So
so,
there might be one big
Maybe
one
one,
somewhere.
not a lot.
Right on
But here's
the
the
edge.
thing.
No, still, no.
here's the thing.
There's a big one in Ignacio Valley that Cecil Valley.
Okay, so here's the thing. If I look at the city first, and the city looks like Hayward, 50 active single-family homes, and that's not true for Concord right now. I think it's many more active single-family homes than that. Does anybody have their computer open that could tell me what the numbers are for Concord?
Sure.
So you just go detached, because when I do these numbers, generally I'm looking at detached single-family homes, not condos and townhomes. Unless my buyer is specifically looking for a condo and townhome, then I'll isolate condos and townhomes away from detached homes to give them the accurate number.
And if you're on the,
Concord.
if you're on the Contra Cost Association, you could always go to the resource. They run a report every 10th of the month, of last month.
Yeah.
And so they'll tell you how many homes
The what?
sold,
What do
what
you
the.
mean?
So if you're part of the Contra Costa Association of Realtor, if you go onto CCR today, there's a resource on stats. You could probably do it for Alameda County too.
I think so, yeah, they both have a similar.
Yeah,
page.
so what you do is you would run a number and then they come out, I think every 10th or 12th of every month, but they retro back to last month so that you can have a history of how many single family homes sold, how many condos sold, and at what price point.
Oh, you don't have a number of actives?
64.
64 active single-family homes in the whole city of Concord. No price limitation, okay. And then do you know the pending? Just say, remove all active to all pending. And you did use all active, right, not just active?
Correct. 140.
Wow.
Wait, hold on. I didn't put building type, hold on.
I knew that was coming.
Okay,
I
so
was waiting, I was looking at his face, waiting for him to say.
there's 135 pending, not counting condos and townhomes.
No. I'm not.
Okay, that would probably, unless did you filter out condos and townhomes? Just single family home, that. 117?
No.
No.
68.
Oh, really?
Do we need to redo the 64 with the, did that filter out property type?
Oh, wow.
So all you do is put the city number and then put in DE for detached and then just put all active, see what it says, and all pending and see what it says. It's usually pretty quick. Okay, so that's not great, but it's not bad either because as long as that number is bigger. Now, okay, so here we go. Now, the house that you're looking at could be in this, you draw a geographical map around it right there, and I want to look for all the other homes. I'm going to draw a map on my computer, and I'll look at that area and I'll see what are the actives and pendings in that area around the house. I'm not going to do the whole city of Concord. Concord is geographically very big, all right? So I'm not going to do that. I just want to look in this area, and then if I know that this house is going to be somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000, then I might look at the active pending numbers in the city of Concord for active over pending just for $400,000 to $500,000. 3 different ways I can look at it so that when I go to report to the seller, I've got 3 strengths that I can tell them. If the city, for instance, like I did one the other day for my client, the $1.6 million listing that you guys held open, in the whole city of Fremont, there was something like 60 homes for sale and only 70 pending. but then so I drew a map in all of Warm Springs. The area of Warm Springs is a big, big geographical area, and there was one home for sale in that whole area, one. For 1.3 million, it was 1,500 square feet. Yes?
I have an update to my numbers, they're very skewed, I do apologize. It's 72 and 121.
Okay, that sounds a lot more accurate to me. 72 over
That's right,
121.
they never sing you.
So that's a really good, that's a good sign for Concord. Now, when we went and did this number, if I looked at all the rest, there was, like I said, how much properties are for sale between 1.5 and 2 million versus pending? Well, between 1.5 and 2 million in the city of Fremont, there were 8 for sale and 8 pending. So I told them that's pretty good. But then when I looked in Warm Springs, it's a completely different story. We can ask more because there's nothing for sale, and everything that's ever gone for sale in the last 2 years in Warm Springs has gone pending in less than 13 days. Everything. Because Warm Springs has 680 right here and 880 right here, literally, and the houses are all right in between. So everybody, and the next town down is Milpitas, so they're 30 minutes closer to Silicon Valley. Anyway, point of story, the more accurate you are. What about when you're talking to a buyer now? Like, who you two held open, whatchamacallit?
Yampa.
Yampa, and Marissa's holding it open Saturday, Sunday, and then who's got it Saturday? Tiffany? Yeah, so everybody has an opportunity at picking up a buyer, even if they're not going to buy in Warm Springs, right? By just being magnanimous, right? Being helpful, offering to text them the disclosure link, whether they've got a realtor or not, because I don't care anymore. I used to always ask Marissa, I tell her all the time, ask them if they've got a realtor. Now I don't want you doing that anymore. Just impress the shit out of them. Don't worry about whether they have a realtor or not. If they have a realtor and decide you're a better service fit for them, that's their business, not yours.
Yep.
All right? But of course you want to get honest when they're starting to waste your time. If they start saying, take me out and everything, you might want to clear that up. One of the ways we're asking realtor people now, I've said it before, is you don't ask them if they're working with realtors. Say, when you've looked at houses before, how is it that you've gotten into them? That's kind of a roundabout question, right? So that it works. Now, does this have an eraser? Or I just use my sleeve?
Paper towels on.
Oh, this, okay, all right. Oh, you know what will work is iced tea.
Wait, is
Oh,
that
no,
a dry
it's
erase
dry
or
erase.
is it dry
Oh,
erase?
dry erase, okay. That's why it says dry erase, I get it now.
I see.
Smart ass. It doesn't usually take a village, except for the whole village is finding ways to ridicule the guy at the front of the room. Okay, now, buyer urgency. One of the main things that we used to do on buyer urgency, and I want you guys to remember these 2 words really quickly. Tier 1,
Oh,
and who said that? Oh yeah.
yeah. I did, I remember this.
Tier 3? Oh,
Tier 2.
okay.
Yes.
You're such a good student, Nikki. What
I
was
know.
it? What was it?
It was me. I
Oh,
told-
No, I was going to ask you what's tier 1, tier 2.
so how, if you found the right property today, would you buy? No, then
Who
I'm
taught
not
you
gonna
that
waste your
line?
time, then we're not gonna waste our time looking at tier 1. Wait, what's tier 1? You did.
I was just going to say, you're quoting my line. I don't even remember teaching you that. Yeah, so the big thing that we were doing, and this was a KW thing, by the way, it was just that I wrote the script and we went around the country teaching it. So we say a tier 1 property is any property in any market, regardless of how strong or weak the market is, that will sell in 3 weeks or less. That's a tier 1 property. So how many of you seen pieces of crap fixer-uppers sell in less than 3 weeks with multiple offers? I think we've all seen that, right? How about that stunning one that was so gorgeous, people put multiple offers on it, it might have even been overpriced and it went over that, right? That's those are all tier 1 properties. What about, like, if for instance in Fremont, if you're in the Irvington School District or Mission San Jose High School District, everything's going to sell in 3 weeks. It doesn't matter if it's overpriced, somebody's going to buy it because it's in that school district. Those are all considered tier 1 properties. I'll tell you, Poets Corner in Pleasant Hill, super popular. Doesn't matter, it's overpriced. The lots are so big, somebody's going to make an offer, it's going to sell. Those are all tier 1 properties. Tier 2 properties, listen carefully to the definition of tier 2 properties. It's everything else. Very clear definition. So when you're talking about buyer urgency, your best question, you're driving, let's say it's your second visit with the clients. Now I know back when we did this, most people were still having their clients in their car. How many of us ever put the client in the car anymore? I think it's right? Most of the time, you're like, I'll meet you there, I'll see you there, don't get you're not getting in my car. Like,
My
that-
client lost her keys, so I had to go pick her up.
did you? Yeah. I remember the last time I was showing buyers a lot was probably 2010, 11, 12, and I remember getting into vans with families that had 3 kids in baby seats, and I was sitting in the front seat praying that this would all end soon. So the main thing is you say on your second visit, sometimes on your first visit, so Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, imagine that we're going to go look at houses today and I picked out some real doozies. Let's just say that we get to one of them and it's everything you're looking for. Price, condition, location, school district, everything is perfect for you. So I have to ask you a serious question. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being you'd buy it today, with 1 being you'd be buying it next year and 10 being you'd be buying it today, assuming we found this perfect home, where would you be on that scale? And they'd say, whatever. So let's say they said 7. Your next question is, what does blank mean to you? In this case, what does a 7 mean to you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer? Oh, a 7 means that we're going to get some money from our parents, so we're going to get a video of the property, send it to our parents, and then we'll wait for their decision. They may decide to fly in to look at it or not, and then we'll look at it. So how much time would you think that would take? It would probably be a couple of months. Okay, great. So you're a 7. Thank you very much. So here's what I want to tell you. Based on your answer, I need to tell you that I don't like wasting your time. It's the only real asset you have here in the search to buy a house. So what I'm going to do is after today, I'm probably not going to show you any more Tier 1 properties. Now remember, they've never heard this term before. So when you say that, you shut up and keep driving, or shut up and don't talk anymore, because it's going to be very important as to what their reaction is. What the reaction mostly is, I'm sorry, what's a Tier 1 property? Well, a Tier 1 property, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, is any property that's going to sell in 3 weeks or less in any marketplace. And see, the reason I'd be wasting your time is if I show you a Tier 1 property, you fall in love with it, now you go do the video, send it to your family, decide over a month or 2 month period that you're going to buy the house. By the time you've decided, it's usually sold. Now you're going to be upset because the home you fell in love with, and you will feel like you've wasted your time. Whose
I
time?
just had this conversation with my Manteca with my
Nice.
client, and we put an offer in today.
Good job. And whose time are you really seriously deep down
Mine.
thinking about?
Mine,
You're
because I'm
thinking
not
of yours.
driving my butt to Manteca
All right.
8,000 times to show you houses. That's all I have to say.
Cindy's not the ideal student, you guys, so I won't listen to her.
No,
She gets out of the car in the parking lot, I'm getting out of my car, she goes, this real estate game is not fun. I'm just so, but
And
here's the
that's why
thing.
we have each other, so that we
Yes.
can talk
Bounce.
and bounce some
Bounce.
frustration, ventilation, and everything.
Ventilation, that's a good word for it. Okay. Oh, Marissa, I just noticed, I thought you should notice that Terry's clock says 13:45, much like yours.
Thank goodness.
Anybody else on military time on their clocks?
Oh, I got rid of
My
that a long
son
time
is a
ago.
nurse, that's why. Marissa's is definitely.
Gina, yours is on military?
Oh, it's been forever.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course, your husband's a girl.
Yes.
All right.
That one.
And a Marine and all that other stuff. All right, so here's what I want you to think about that. When you ask that question, we have often moved buyers from a 5, a 6, a 7, right up to a 9. Just because they don't want to miss out on Tier 1 properties.
Sure.
Or they can even say to you, I'd love for you to continue to show me Tier 1 properties, which is still a boon for you because now, does knowing what a Tier 1 property is, wouldn't that be valuable? Are you always going to know if you're showing in areas that you don't show very often? No, you're not. But you can base it on understanding. So one of the things that Marissa and I work a lot together with her buyers, and one of the things that one set of buyers that she has that's been unique is their desire to know if there's disclosures and what the comps are even before they've decided to buy it. Like before they've decided